The star. No, hi. So today on my segment, no, I'm just kidding. We're here, and you put it lopsided.
I didn't put it lopsided.
Yeah, you did.
Scooch over.
Over here.
Ugh.
My butt was comfortable right there.
It was. You got the butt groove in the carpet.
I did.
Put your phone away.
I'm tagging you on something about something on camera.
I like that.
Too bad, now you don't get it.
Hi, how's everybody doing? So for today's
you didn't let them finish. Okay.
Okay.
So.
It's tripping me out. We have background music. It's like French jazz music, and it shows a picture of the Eiffel Tower, and it's raining on the camera, so it looks like it's raining. And then we look to my left, where our sliding door window is, and it's clear.
Yeah.
A little bit cloudy, but I'm
it's
expecting.
shifting. It's good.
Yeah, so it's kind of tripping me out. So today's topic, this topic,
small town versus
city practice. Translation.
Market.
I am. I see. Now, because we never know what to do, I actually printed this up a while back. So if nobody makes requests, we're doing something off the list.
Yeah. Only thing is we were kind of lazy the last couple of days because we got busy. Not because we were actually being lazy. We actually were busy.
Yeah.
So,
when you started practicing, what was your practice like? Well, in your small town.
well, are you talking about when I got into witchcraft or when I was just doing like the reverse stuff getting into witchcraft?
Let's do both.
Both? Alright, so when I first started practicing, I was basically started with reverse Christianity. So I would still go to Catholic Mass, and instead of like eating the wafer, I would take it out of my mouth and save it, and I would turn it upside down and use it like that, and do meditations that way to kind of break the chains. Kind of like how the beginning intro to mastering witchcraft was. And then from there, I made communication. I'm assuming it was Spirit of the Land because it was a satyr, and also like an old lady. And then from there, I started making contact with Hecate, and then delving more into witchcraft. But I would use plants because I grew up really rural area, so there was herbs available because it is very wet in New Mexico where I'm from.
He gets weather. We don't get weather here.
Yeah. Anyways, there was a lot of water and moisture, so I would work a lot with different dirts because it was available. I would work with herbs around town, and because there was some growing outside of my mom's house, I would use that. We had cypress. There was pine not far away. There was cottonwood. Huh?
Love the smell of cypress.
There was a wild cherry tree. And 4 rose bushes. And a spearmint tree in the back. And 2 of the little tiny apricot trees, like the little apricot ones. Like 2 of those. So I would try to work with those a lot. And then like the cherry tree died when my grandma touched it.
Poor thing.
But I noticed that when I was doing work there, a lot of the trees were blooming more, as well as all of the other plants. But it seemed to literally come alive, which is noticeable a lot of the time too. I don't know about with you, but it was very noticeable with me then. I would also make do with what I could find if there wasn't an herb with what I could find at the grocery store. This is where I really challenged myself with being able to find correspondences rather than having to be like, oh, this spell in the book says I need this. Well, guess what? You ain't got it. So what you gonna do? Also, I used a lot of white candles, or I would go thrift shopping looking for new candles that weren't cracked or burned like in the least. Even if they were dusty, I would wipe them off, and then I would use them. It also took a lot to actually make your own tools rather than having to buy them. Face it, when you're 12 or 13 or however the hell old I was, it's not going to be that you have a lot of money to order things online.
I was that age once. I was broke too. So
you kind of just have to go from there. My athame, it was my dad's dagger, but I kind of just took it. And
yeah. Well, with my practice when I first started, rural town as Anthony, but this is in northern Arizona. Now
you got dirt.
Yeah, it's dirt, literally. It's a high desert. Usually in the desert you get like cactus. Oh, there we didn't get cactus. It was literally dirt. Have you ever seen the first Star Wars movie from where Luke Skywalker's from? It looked like that.
Wasn't it filmed there?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
But they did test a Mars rover up there. That's how isolated and desolate it is. NASA's like, we need to find something that looks like Mars. Oh, look, here's this town. Yeah, that's where it was at. I was in high school when they tested, I think. Anyhow, so small town, and a lot of the community that I grew up in was very traditional Native American, Christian. So you got a weird mix of things. So to call yourself a witch was a big no-no. If you referred to yourself as a witch, then people would avoid you like the plague. I know because it happened to me. So I used to just call myself pagan or Wiccan, but I used to do a whole bunch of different works, here and there. And the town that I grew up in was seriously very small. There was like one grocery store, a couple of convenience stores, and like 4 or 5 gas stations. That was it. Huge school, surprisingly, but very small community. So the neighboring town was probably like about an hour to an hour and a half away. So whenever we would go there to pick up stuff that we needed for home, groceries, knickknacks, whatever we needed for home, usually I would buy my stuff there at the dollar store. Again, same thing. I'm like 14, no money, so
Dollar Tree can save.
Yeah, and I was lucky too because I was able to get some book money and save some money up for to buy books and whatnot. Witchcraft. I think the first book I bought was Earth Power by Scott Cunningham.
The first book I got was from Amazon because my mom bought it because it looked like a novel.
Uh-huh.
And it was Teen Witch by Silver Raven.
Oh,
well,
wow.
Because the public library wouldn't allow you to check out books that they had on witchcraft if you were under the age of 16 without an adult signing off for you.
Yeah, I had the same thing too. Me and a friend of mine were into magic, and I wasn't allowed to check books out on the occult.
So I would sit in the library and read. Because I couldn't take it out, I could read it there though.
Yeah, I still didn't like being around people then either, so I would,
You'd steal it?
No, I wouldn't steal it. I had my mom write a note, or actually I think I forged a note.
Did they ever check with her?
No.
Then she'll love it.
Yeah. But, yeah, so I got into kitchen witchery early. Not early. Because...
Where'd you find it?
It was just one of my pagan pride day people. But I got into kitchen witchery. I learned how to make all my like oils from stuff I found in the kitchen, working with herbs, making incense, anointing and dressing oils with dry herbs, fresh herbs. My mom was like, "Wow, you're really into cooking all of a sudden." I'm like, "Yeah, cooking, sure. I love to cook though, But that's how I got into a lot of that, making poppets using kitchen clay. Working with different extracts and everything like that. And we'll do a kitchen witch thing too here soon.
I really got into more like mixing teas and incense with what I could find.
Mm-hmm.
I also experimented with drinking a bunch of them. Be careful.
Yeah.
My mom got mad at me because she saw what I was doing, but she didn't know I was actually ingesting it. I remember I think it was Chinese elm that I was like,
I think you need a stomachache.
No, it made my fingers go numb.
Oh.
I think I was like 13 and I was like, Mom, I feel funny. What do you mean? I can't feel my feet and I can't feel my hands and my lips feel buzzy. I feel floaty. It feels cool though. I think this is working. What's working? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I was very irresponsible.
Still is.
I know, but it's fun. Gotta admit, it's fun, but at least I don't set the altar on fire.
Yeah. One time, twice. It happened twice, but
I ain't going to let you live it down.
So, yeah, I got into a lot of kitchen witchery and I do a lot of stuff out of the kitchen. I'd get my oil, just regular cooking oil, infuse my herbs, making anointing oils and stuff like that. Did the same thing with incense. My altar was a very small altar. I don't know where it's at, but it's this tabletop thing that a piece of particle board. So about yay wide. About that, this wide, and about that wide. And that's how, that was my altar. I take the candles down. I wasn't allowed a pentacle, so what I did was I got some sticks and I made one. Just a little pentagram, and I stuck it on my altar.
My dad always threw out all my stuff every time we found it. It was very hard to keep tools.
Yeah, I had to hide a lot of stuff. My magic wand was a wooden dowel, and I got some copper tubing. And then I put one on a copper cap on the bottom of the dowel, and I put another piece on top, the tube, and I stuck a crystal in there. And then I would use that. And then when, just for ritual, and then when I needed to, I would dismantle it so nobody would find it. I wouldn't get in trouble. My athame I bought actually at a knife show in, one of the bigger towns close by. And I've had to think forever. That's the only thing I would leave out. I didn't make my first altar pentacle until I ended up going to Michael's and I just got a wood burning pen and just drew a star on a wooden disc. Chalice, it was just something that I grabbed at the local dollar store. Altar candles I would pick up at the local dollar store. And my mom kind of thought it was weird that I was buying all these candles all of a sudden. And so I literally would go to the dollar store and come back with like 2 bagfuls of just taper candles that I would use. You gotta work with what you got.
My mom was surprisingly okay with it. My dad, on the other hand, was a problem.
Yeah.
Because at first she thought I was just getting into Satanism, which I admit I kind of like. She kind of ran into a lot of stuff that I was using for like the reverse part. But then I started getting into like more like Wicca style witchcraft. And then she was like, kind of like, until I sat down and talked to her about it. And she was like, oh, well, it's kind of like some flashbacks, you know. And then from there, she started helping me out and she was getting me books from then. So that's whenever I first started getting books. It was from my mom. And I love it. And I thank you for watching this. Mm-hmm. But I remember the first time that I was making my tools was I found a block of wood that my dad had left out, and I kind of just took it and with a pocket knife I carved a pentacle into it. The athame I stole because it was a dagger that he had, and I just kind of took it. He thought it was missing. My chalice was a glass one that was really pretty goblet, and it had like spiky pieces of glass pointed out. It looked like a vampire chalice, but completely clear glass, pretty crystal that I got at a thrift store. For my wand, originally it was a cherry wood wrench. And I think I told you about that. And then I went into pine, and then I went to the rose one that I still have.
I like that one.
Me too, it's pretty. I put a amethyst point at top, leather on the bottom of the handle, and copper wire going up. I feel like Harry Potter. Dragon Heartstring. What else was there that I used? Oh, and because I couldn't always burn candles or incense because my dad was like always sniffing for some reason, that's when I first started getting into trying to figure out how to work with statues and knickknacks and live in them. I think that's just why I really like doing that, because it's fun and you don't have to leave something on where people can smell it. And so I had an angel statue that I used in the east side originally to represent air, but I also use it to represent some spirits that I work with. And then I went to a schooling program over the summer, came back, and one of my cousins was staying in my room, and she broke it. I remember.
Yeah, I remember we had, with me, what I had was this really cool glass, so those Egyptian perfume bottles, the really cool ones that are hand-blown. I had one of those.
Like from Death Becomes Her?
I think so. But I have a cousin who's really clumsy, and he never grew out of it. He ended up breaking it by stepping on it. And it was sitting on an altar. I was sitting on my altar at the time. So.
That's a clumsy foot.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, a lot of my practice was very simple kitchen witchery stuff I could get, you know, out of the home. Most of the herbs that I got were from the grocery store. What I could get there, you know, and all that stuff. And then when I moved to the city, different story.
You're like, ooh, I can get all of this stuff.
Yeah, now I can buy most of the stuff that the books say. So, but
I know that too. Whenever I was in a small town and I couldn't practice at home because of my dad, I would go to the lake or remote areas because of how rural it was, and I would just go practice out there, like the marshlands that I showed you.
Yeah.
Before they got all the Russian olives out, I would kind of hop the fence and go there, or I would go into the cemetery and work there.
Yeah, well, yeah, your area you could, but you know, the small town that I was in, you really can't go out at night. There's stuff that goes bump in the night. That's scary.
I know your guys' stuff is more assassin-y than
Yeah.
than where I'm from.
Yeah.
Where I'm from, there was stuff, but it didn't flat out attack you. It was more like nosy, like the neighbors.
Yeah, hardcore. But you know, when I moved to the city, my practice changed a lot. The first place I lived in was Las Vegas, and I was part of a Wiccan temple that was there, which has since closed. But you know, yeah. But you know, I was able to get a lot of the herbs, and I learned more about different herbs with what I found in kitchen stuff. You know, candles and oils were more readily available, so I didn't have to make everything from scratch, which I still do on occasion. It's fun, but it takes a lot of work. You know, I was able to meet with other pagans and meet more like-minded people. As to before, when I was in a small town and I'd go to the next town over to buy books and stuff, occasionally I would run into some, but not all the time. Now, you know, it's different now because we got a whole stock of everything that we need, so we rarely go out for anything. I prefer not to go out at all, or it's too people-y out there for me. So I'm extremely antisocial. How about your practice since you've moved to the cities?
When I moved to Albuquerque, because right before I moved, I started getting more into brujeria. And then when I got to Albuquerque, I started meeting some of the local brujas that had your videos. And I kind of like avoided the ones that were kind of like, you're boring, don't talk to me. And I found one in particular on the west side, and she would share information with me on how to do things. And I just started experimenting with it. Put your phone down.
Oh, nice.
I'm just messing with you. You know I don't care.
Yeah.
And from there, I started getting more things readily available to me, and I also started getting introduced to like different ways of doing things. I started experimenting more with, instead of just like reverse Christianity and Satanism, and I got more into Luciferianism as a witchcraft aspect, and then I started getting more into different forms, I guess you could say, because I also started getting into chaos magic at that point as well. And I was working more with Santísima Muerte at that time too, where now I'm going back to working with Hecate. And it was just a lot of different experiments. I was also going through that phase in my life where I was very rebellious because I was like, yeah, I'm finally free, I can do what I want. Yeah, I don't like you, I'm gonna curse you. I'm gonna curse you too. I'm gonna curse you too. And like, oh, you looked at my family wrong, I'm gonna curse you too. And it was just a lot of issues. Luckily I'm alive. So
yeah. I never went through that. I was an ass when I was younger.
It was usually all the people that, like, I got entwined with.
Yeah. Yeah, with me, I never went through that. I think we talked about this before.
Yeah.
I just don't care.
I admit I can get petty now, but I've improved a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not as petty. I just have like a couple of coworkers that call me Petty Bendy.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what it was. It was like, I think it was more on my part, a lot of emotional issues I was going through that now I'm kind of like over. I'm like, that was a lot of time. I could have done something else.
Yeah.
I'm like looking back now, I'm like, I should have focused on divination.
Yes. With me now, I'm living in the city. I like it, but I still don't interact with a lot of the community, pagan communities. Here in Phoenix, you have a huge draw of stuff. There's Asatru, there's
the
Druids, there's a couple of open Wiccan temples, there's ceremonial magician groups.
There's also like a lot of neo-pagan groups.
Yeah, there's several neo-pagan groups. There's shamanic groups that are regular shamanism, not traditional Native American practices. There's even traditional Native American practices too, like sweat lodges and whatnot.
There's a lot. Also, isn't there like a big Reiki?
Yeah, there's Reiki groups here in town. There's all kinds of stuff, but I just don't take advantage of it. I'm happy in my own little world. I got my own little practice going. I'm not about working with huge groups of people. I'm more about doing the actual work. And since I've lived in the city, I've gotten more into ceremonial magic, root working, and hoodoo because more stuff's available. If I need John to conquer a root, I can just go to one of the local shops. They don't usually carry it, but it's good to know that if they did, I could go there.
Usually we keep enough on stock.
Yeah.
Even though we do go through it kind of quick too, which is really crazy because it's mostly us, but then client work and stuff. Still, urban area, rural area, it's so freaking hard to get belladonna sometimes and whole mandrake root. And devil shoestring, oh my god. I do not know what the hell it is with finding whole sticks of devil shoestring.
Stuff grows wild out here too.
I know, but I do not get what's the hard part about it for where we are. And everywhere, either A, out of stock online, B, not carrying it, or C, yeah, we cut it up. I'm like, we don't need it cut, we need the...
Yeah. Or people are like, oh, no, just use the oil. I don't want the oil, I can't tie up oil.
And you're like, girl, listen with these.
But no, being in the city too has kind of spoiled us a lot. I know me, because I'm used to having different herbs readily available. I'm like, oh, I'll just go to the herb shop and pick this up.
Or like whenever you scare the people at the herb shop asking for stuff.
Yeah, and then I go over there and like, do you guys carry monk's head? You're like, what?
Or they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah. Or one time we were over in Albuquerque, and I was looking for gum mastic. Apparently, you have to put gum in there. Just calling it mastic doesn't mean anything. The guy was like, I don't know what that is. Gum mastic. It's a resin. Oh.
Yeah, that's over here.
Yeah. I don't know what mastic was. So we just call it gum mastic.
Really? I mean, the same words in there. I mean.
Yeah. Somebody says mastic to me. I'm only thinking gum mastic gum, and it goes by another name too. I just can't remember what it is right now.
Yeah. There was that one herb store. You don't like going to that area of town, but we get our haircuts there. I'll just call it like Uptown Phoenix. I don't know if it's actually Uptown, but I'm calling it that. And I got asked, but I scared the guy in the herb shop there. He asked me not to come back. I was just asking for simple herbs. It wasn't like anything scary. All I needed was belladonna, devil's shoestring, and I was looking for hemlock too. I can't remember what I was doing, but I was looking for hemlock.
It's probably the hemlock that's scary. You can get to the power.
We'll get it.
It's fall. Actually, it's plant harvesting time.
Yeah, we need to go out now.
So yeah, maybe we'll do a video on some of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so being in the city kind of spoils you.
It does.
Before it was just
You
like,
get lazy.
Yeah. Oh, I'll go to the store later and grab it, and then you
It's
go
like
to the
groceries.
store. Yeah, they don't have it, and you freak out. You're like, oh my god, I need this. Like, no, you don't need it. Just work with what you got. I fall into that trap all the time.
Whenever he falls in it, I try to get him out of it. He don't listen. And the same thing with me.
Yeah, you don't listen when I tell him anything anyway.
Huh?
What time are we at? 31 minutes.
We should probably go.
Yeah. So, okay. But I think it's at 31 minutes. I can't see the thing.
I can't see that far. It's little.
Okay, I think that's it.
Yeah.
So, did you have anything else that you want to add?
Uh-uh.
Okay. Well, we will see you guys next time. And if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. Remember to like this video, subscribe.
Share.
Yes. Go ahead and share.
We want to be in other people's houses too.
So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Some of you guys know that we're willing to answer questions if you send them via messenger or email. If we haven't responded to them, we probably haven't gotten them. I'm usually
Or not seen them.
Yeah, I usually try to respond within 5 to 10 minutes of receiving messages. So because I don't got a life. Anywho, we'll catch you guys next time.
Peace. Peace. Yeah. You're
Get
gonna
over
drop
here.
the camera. You're gonna drop the camera. Just.
I got it. Catch you guys later. Bye.